We'll go ahead and get started then. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Justin.
And I'm Jim.
And we are the Brothers Dim. And today, as you can tell from the first slide of our presentation here, we got some Missouri High weirdness to bring you. And now that you can finally see the screen, Jim, how are you digging it? Do you like it?
I love it.
It's good. Pretty nice, huh?
It
So,
is.
a little bit of transparency.
Mm.
We redid this yesterday. We filmed all of this yesterday. We recorded all of this, and no audio. Happens to the best of us and the dimmest of us, apparently, like your brothers here. But
living up to the name.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it wouldn't have been. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't have been perfect if it worked out exactly right.
Yeah.
Whatever. All right. So you know what? We're gonna move on. So first thing we're gonna start with is some reported deep underground military bases. Now, Jim, have you ever heard of any deep underground military bases?
Shy of yesterday's recording. No,
that never happened.
That never happened.
After 2 minutes ago, that again never happened.
But I have not.
You have never in your whole life. Well, let me fill you in on some deep underground military bases. So
that's great.
The consensus is that's where they hide. I guess everything that they. It's kind of a blanket thing, you know. Government hides stuff from us. I think we're both kind of in the conspiracy community, but I think both of us are like on the fence about a lot of the crazy shit, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I think, so, you know. Anyways, the government hides it, you name it. They're hiding it in a deep underground military base.
What better
and
place?
As you can tell by my definitely not ripped off image from Google Images here, that some of them might have some extraterrestrial sources. So, in Missouri, we have one 12 miles south of Lebanon. All right. Near the newly created town of Twin Bridges.
They're still creating towns? I did not.
Apparently
they are.
Apparently, there we go, man. We got one in St. Francis Mountains between St. Louis and New Madrid. Now, New Madrid, there was something yesterday. It was the first.
Apparently, it is a fault, they call it. I guess I don't really know what a fault is, but it's, I guess, something to do with tectonic plates, possibly.
Right.
So they say that's why the biggest earthquake in the United States happened there in Missouri.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah. Okay. So a huge earthquake. We got military deep underground bases. You know, you got to make a big hole in the ground to make a deep underground military base. You know what I'm saying? And maybe you blow a big hole into the ground. You know,
that's true.
So maybe we got something there.
Yeah.
And now apparently we have some cave clusters in Missouri as well, Jim. We have the Bat Cave clusters, the Dry Cave clusters, the Dead Man Cave clusters, and the Howl Cave clusters. And the website I found this on, and I will show it in 1 second, it did not specify. It just says there's a base there with a saucer. You know, not even just a base, by the way. I should add these in. These are saucer bases. Okay, this is where aliens come in and land their saucers.
Flying saucer.
Okay. So, you know what I mean? It's on the internet, so it's definitely true.
Got to be real. That's right. I wonder if this is like anecdotal evidence, or if this is people that have had first-hand encounters that are reporting this.
Yeah. I mean, the area we live in, there's a lot of weird. There's a lot of weird. A lot of people like to get down with the weird. A lot of Bigfoot lovers. A lot of stuff like that. UFO lovers. With that comes things being labeled as such that are not things. Their imaginations run wild. You know,
right? Yeah.
Do you think we really have 3 deep underground military bases in Missouri?
That's kind of far-fetched. Apparently, and from my search here now is it looks like there's over 120 in the United States. That's a lot.
That's a lot. If you were going to build some deep underground military bases, man, now I get the whole like CIA, FBI, Black Ops, and you know that is real, and there are things that they fund with that, and I'm sure at some point deep underground military base was on that. But when you tell me there's like over 120,
Right.
why that many even? Why not
Right.
consolidate and have one fucking super deep underground? That's dumb, you know?
Exactly.
And that's another thing. We pointed this out yesterday.
Yeah.
The acronym D.U.M.B really doesn't help either. Let's go back to that. Let's point that out. Yeah, D.U.M B. That's what they label them as. So, that's one of those things. Could it be a diversion from the truth? Maybe there's super above ground military bases that we just don't see because we're too busy looking super deep underground. You know what I'm saying? Like District 9 shit. Anyways, the whole alien talk, that brings us to Whiteman Air Force Base in 1984. Jim, I know you have never, ever heard of this encounter, especially not of yesterday.
This is brand new information.
New information. So, I'm going to blow your fucking mind.
All right, I'm ready.
2 airmen were doing their rounds around Whiteman Air Force Base, riding in a Jeep, driving near the base's igloo structures. Now, igloo structures, big buildings, round tops. You
Made
know
of
what I'm
ice,
saying?
right?
Maybe the ones with the round tops that like even open up.
Sure.
Not too sure about that. You know what I'm saying? But either way, big buildings, round tops. You know, whatever. You ever played Call of Duty, map dome? That's what comes to my mind.
That's my only knowledge of it. I've never seen one in person.
Yeah, exactly. These structures were housing nitrogen bombs and missiles. So these were not just any structures. These were, you know what I'm saying, some important buildings if they're holding nitrogen bombs.
Yeah, I would say it'd probably be.
Suddenly, the Jeep dies out on them, and they look up to see a 50-foot in diameter disc in the air doing what seemed to be a scan of the area. So it's shooting lasers out, it's doing a grid scan of this area. So what did these chads do? They approach it. When one of the men approached the laser that was emitting from the craft, it turned purple and burned him. So, Genius of the Year called command, which, should have done probably as soon as his Jeep died and seen the 50-foot craft in the air, but what do I know? You know what I'm saying? I don't. When command arrives, the military police, and apparently, now according to the source of where I'm getting this stuff, UFO officers, which apparently were a thing before 1969 and were secretly still a thing when this incident happened in 84. So, according to this guy, there were UFO officers openly in the Air Force until 69. I didn't look that up. I probably should have. That would probably been something. You know what I'm saying? Well, I don't do research. You can. I'm not fucking.
And if you found it, you wouldn't believe it anyway. That's the thing. You wouldn't.
Yeah, right. No kidding. Let's see. Where am I at here? At the time, the craft is then chased off by the base's Harrier jets until they run out of gas and return, followed promptly by the UFOs who return to do their grid scan. So they chase them off with these crazy-ass jets all the way until they run out of gas, and then they come back, and then the UFOs are like, all right, little boys, you settle down. You obviously can't catch me. Your little gas-powered little scooters, you know what I'm saying? Compared to them, I imagine it's nothing,
They made them sit there and watch while they finish their grid scan.
Yeah, he's like, all right, now that you get out of the way, watch this. Right. As usual, the men were threatened into silence until 2008 when Hogan, which is the man who was burned by the way, he came out and addressed the media. And, you know how that went. Now, we have, in this year, lately, a lot of quote-unquote military disclosure.
Yes.
You mentioned yesterday Hogan was not a part of this military disclosure, which is correct. Does that make it less believable, more believable? Who knows? The guy could be dead.
It could be.
Completely honest, he could just not be around. And also, the guys who came out could be planted. They could have been told to come out and say a certain thing, which is definitely what I feel. It feels like a purposeful, like a direction of the narrative. You know what I'm saying? Get out in the narrative. And you control it like that.
It
And that
does.
seems to happen a lot when it comes to things that us peasants shouldn't know.
That's very true.
Yeah.
And it was something else I added yesterday that I think is worth noting as well. Is this happened in 1984, and I just still find it hard to believe that they had that kind of technology back then to be able to grid scan an area that size. Not saying they didn't have it, but it just kind of seems kind of far-fetched. Even by today's standards, it's pretty impressive to be able to scan an area that size.
Yeah, and it seems like today they would probably be able to do it with something like Invisible. They probably wouldn't need the visible lasers, be changing colors and burning motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? They could just use some satellite, and some camera, and some AI software, and they wouldn't need to do all that.
That's true. Just take
but
a picture.
Maybe back then, and I mean, this is a military base, and he's scanning where there's hydrogen bombs, things like that. You got to think this could be just a craft, just a military craft, somebody trying to get a little bit of spy knowledge on us.
So not supernatural, more just kind of international spying kind of. Yeah.
Super national.
Oh, I like that. Super.
You know what I'm saying? Yes. Super national, right?
Aliens of a different breed. Yes.
Yeah, well, hold on. No gun breasts. All right, no gun breasts. Moving on to everybody's favorite bipedal big hairy man.
Oh, me?
In fact, I was going to say the only one that everyone really likes, but I guess the second other one that everyone actually likes. Now, Phelps County has its own encounter gem way back in 1978, and I read into it, and it is a lady talking about when she was a kid and she heard a Bigfoot.
And we live in Phelps County here, right? So this hits very close to home.
This is we could hear Bigfoot, but considering it's just an auditory encounter, I decided not to include that one. But the one that I did include is pretty recent.
How recent is
last year.
Last year,
and it is from Cuba, Missouri.
Just down the road.
Yep, that is not far at all. Our friend, our nameless friend, decided to tell us. I was fishing at the Riverview Access Conservation Area near Cuba, Missouri, off State Road O. Now, Missouri state roads, they go by letters. Sometimes, not always numbers like everywhere else.
It's too easy.
State Road O, if you don't know what that means,
then you ain't from here. Exactly. You ain't
Missouri thing. I had been fishing for a couple hours. I was the only one there. The sun had gone down, and it was starting to get dark. It was right around 8:30. Now, starting to get dark and right around 8:30 sound like two different things to me. But, could have just been...
summertime, maybe. Could be. Pushing it, yeah.
I witnessed a large rock come from the tree line on the opposite bank and land in the water. It made a big splash. The rock itself was quite large and flew through the air every bit of 20 feet from the point where I first saw it. I'm a 6'3", 350-pound strong guy, but I could not throw a rock that large anywhere near that far. I never saw whatever or whoever threw the rock. All I know is that something caused that rock to fly through the air. I instantly was confused and fascinated. I stood there for a minute, thinking I would be able to see something move in the trees. I didn't, and I thought it was a good idea to leave, which, I wouldn't have stayed to see. Somebody's throwing boulders. I would get the hell out of here. Didn't see it. Didn't see Bigfoot. The whole, I'm a big guy and I couldn't throw that rock is not the best scale of measurement. But it is Bigfooty. The whole throwing the rock to get somebody to go away. It's getting to be nighttime. He's like, all right, you people have had your people time. Get the fuck out of here.
That's right. It's bedtime.
I got to take a bath. I'm trying to take my Sasquatch bath and go to bed. We've heard stories of them throwing rocks before. Yeah. We've heard stories of breaking trees and doing a lot of things like that. And in Missouri, we don't have anything else in the woods that's going to throw a big-ass rock at you.
And that's what I always think, too, is when you think, something rubbing on trees or rubbing a hair off. They find some hair in the bark and things like that. Well, bears do that, and then bears also will break trees or stomp through, bushes and all that. But nothing's going to throw a rock, like you said.
Nothing's
So
gonna toss a rock.
that's the part that I always hear of Bigfoot that I can't explain, and that's what I look for, is things that can't be explained otherwise. And that is the MO, it seems like, of a Bigfoot encounter, is that, and I guess they have a unique call, I hear sometimes, that doesn't match up with any other animal. So, of course, it's a subjective when it talks about a large rock. I don't know how large that is necessarily, but
Right.
assuming we believe everything else about this guy, then he says he couldn't do it. Well, I believe it.
Yeah.
That's that's very interesting stories, considering it's so close to here too.
Yeah, and also throwing a rock makes it seem like a very physical creature, I noticed. And that brings me to my next question.
Yeah.
Is he a physical being? Is it something that grew alongside the humans, or I guess not alongside, maybe in the shadows from the humans? Maybe we had some sort of altercation in the past. I mean, not trying to, what's the word, foresee any information, foreclose the rest of the show or anything, but we found giant bones when we came to this country, and
Yes.
maybe they were just Bigfoot. Maybe they were just running shit back then or something, or who knows what the Bigfoot really is. Do you think he is a physical creature, or is he something else?
That's the ultimate question, I believe, and especially considering something that size could be that elusive. It's hard to believe. It really is. I mean, there's common bears and things like that, like I keep coming back to, but they can't hide that well from humans, even though
Right.
they're a very elusive creature, more than people would give them credit for, I believe.
Right.
They really don't want any trouble usually, and that seems like Bigfoot, if considering it's real, is the same way. I just don't see how they've avoided being captured on camera or film, anything other than a grainy footage from, 100 yards away. Or
Right.
I just don't find that very likely. But that also brings it back to, how is it so elusive, considering it's real? Is there something else? I know there's a lot of talk of mind control and things like that. I mean, if you're going to believe there's a Bigfoot, why not think maybe there's some powers that we're not aware of? Or
Yeah, I think that really explains it, because I mean, at some point you're gonna come across him in his house chilling with the fam. The kids can't be you're not gonna be as born perfectly elusive. Somebody's gonna be making mistakes if you're just a physical creature like that. And I think there's enough talk through history, if you combine all of these cultures that have talked about basically the same thing but have called it something just a little bit different, you know what I'm saying? And they all talk about some sort of bipedal ape, and it's, he comes and goes. He doesn't seem to be there for very long. We don't know where he lives, and here he comes, here he goes type situation. And it just, to me, seems like he doesn't live here. Maybe he just, is like, maybe he could just go to maybe a different dimension, or maybe something like that. I know it seems crazy, but we're talking about Bigfoot right now, folks. All right, you got to stay with me. I'm just saying different something. It's something where we can't go for some reason, when something we can't comprehend. And another conversation that we brought up yesterday that I'd like to transition back into today was the aliens and Bigfoot seen together a lot of times, or should I say at least UFO and Bigfoot seen together a lot of time. Do you think that's something? You heard the stories of like the aliens making hybrids of things, and maybe they made a human ape hybrid, or do you think that's something like maybe they are the ones that put us here in the first place, and now they're dropping off some new shit because they're owing the monopoly board or whatever? What do you think is the connection of why people see UFOs and Bigfoots and other oddities kind of in one concentrated area, seemingly together.
That is true, and it goes back not just back in time, but also all the world over. It seems to be there's a lot of correlation between UFOs and Bigfoots, Bigfoots,
Big five.
the Big Five. That you almost have to think if that there's some kind of connection between the two. Like you said, they could be dropped, or they could just be visitors. They could be dropping them off for whatever reason. I don't know if they're outcasts or maybe they're the aliens themselves.
Yeah, maybe we're the Australia of the universe, and Bigfoot are all criminal. Wow, that sounds kind of racist. Hold on. Listen, I'm not saying that Bigfoot. If you guys are fucking listening to this, I'm cool with you. Is all I'm saying. I got a sticker at home that says I believe. So obviously, I'm not the one you want to kill. Is all I'm saying. But I definitely agree that people have always talked about them like being mixed together, some sort of correlation, and maybe it's just some places the veil is just lifted, and the other place I'm talking about, maybe the aliens come from there too. Maybe they're not extraterrestrial, they're extra dimensional or whatever you would call that, ultra dimensional, however you would define that. And maybe it's just some places the veil is just a little bit thinner, you know what I'm saying? The aliens come through, the Bigfoots come through, the dogmans, the grays, all sorts.
And of course, I'll have to give my little skeptical caveat that I always question everything, and I don't, by any means discredit anything. There's just as likely there is Bigfoot as there is not in my mind. But the correlation, I wonder, I'd like your input on this as well, if you don't mind. Do you think it's because those who believe in UFOs are more likely to believe in Bigfoot, therefore they see the things that people maybe in other parts of the country or world don't see because they're not as open-minded, in other words, not looking for it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, if you find somebody that super believes in Bigfoot and then you bring up UFOs and they're like, get the hell out of here, there's got to be some mental gymnastics that they're doing.
Right.
If you're going to accept one complete oddity, one thing completely out of our realm of normality like that, then you have to be ready to accept other things that you would not perceive to be possible or normal, you know what I'm saying? So I definitely see people see Bigfoot, maybe they really do see Bigfoot, and then their mind is opened up to the weird, and then they see the lightning flash in the sky, but they only see the end of it, and they're like, I just saw a fucking UFO, and maybe it's a little bit easier to believe it's a UFO because you had the real Bigfoot sighting, or maybe it's vice versa or something like that. So maybe a lot of it, we're gonna have to sum up to the mind playing tricks, because the mind does play tricks. But there's got to be a seed of truth somewhere when it comes to these things, because a lot of fucking people say the same thing, and they've been saying the same thing for a long time. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
and it just no longer makes sense to just be like, nah, the mind's crazy. People are crazy. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't work like that anymore.
Yeah, no,
it's like a mixed bag. I think there's like a limit you have to set for yourself to stay sane and stay on a path,
Absolutely.
But at the same time, it's like, I'll believe it, bro. I'll believe it, because I'm going to believe a Bigfoot. So I'm going to have to believe that alien, too,
That's true. Even the hieroglyphs in Egypt, have you seen some of those? It looks like they're actually drawing what we would today call a flying saucer.
Right, and hieroglyph itself is a lot of them are just dog-headed humans, and they wore the mask, and fucking whatever. But, why did they have that idea?
Right.
Where did they just get this shit from? Dude, you know what? I fuck with cats. I'm going to just walk around with a cat mask. Never mind. Actually, Jim, we have furries.
We do.
Today. Now, I think I just answered my own question. You know what? I think that pretty much covers that.
Sometimes you just have to talk it out.
Sometimes you just got to get it out. We're going to go ahead and move on from that one. So, for my next bit of this presentation, Jim, we have a little bit of the spooky, scary side of the weird. We have the Morse Mill Hotel and the murderous ghost that haunts it, probably.
Oh.
I say probably
okay.
for two reasons. Because, one, I don't know if ghosts are real. Two, I don't know if this person was a murderer or not. Bertha Gifford, the failed healer, or the successful killer. I really needed some. I think
we need sound effects.
We're gonna have to get something going on with that.
I like that. That was pretty good, though. So.
Yeah, that was good, right? Come on.
I
was in a mirror all night. All right, so Gifford was renowned in her community for her cooking skills and caring for sick neighbors and relatives. Despite this, 5 people died in her care, prompting a grand jury investigation. In 1928, Gifford was arrested in Eureka, Missouri, and charged with 3 murders. So 5 people have died in her care that they know of. They find her in Eureka. They arrest her for 3.
Okay.
Following the exhumation and post-mortem exams of Edward Brindley, Elmer, and Lloyd Schammel, the bodies were found to contain large amounts of arsenic. Gifford was put on trial for the murders in Union, Missouri. Following the 3-day trial, she was found not guilty by reasons of insanity and committed to the Missouri State Hospital No. 4 psychiatric institution, where she remained until her death in 1951. So, arsenic. I bring it up later in here. Arsenic used to be used for other things. Not so much used for other things.
Excuse me.
There was a different understanding of these chemicals and things like that. We were still kind of trying to figure out how much it would take to kill you. You know what I'm saying? So that is kind of put into question here. But let's continue. Gifford acted the role of nurse for her sick neighbors, and a total of 17 people died in her care.
Wow.
Now, this is the part where it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Now, at the same time, I guess if you're going to be the community doctor for poor people, people are going to die in your care. That's just a part of healthcare. You know what I'm saying? 17, I mean, that's a fucking lot.
That is a lot of people.
That's a lot, and especially if you're finding a large amount of arsenic in some of these people's bodies.
Right.
Okay, so it wasn't until after the grand jury investigation of the 5 deaths that suspicions were raised about an additional 12 deaths. 12.
Okay.
Given the high mortality rates and the amateur use of arsenic for medical reasons at the time, no one can be certain that she purposely killed everyone that had been in her care. But if she killed one, she killed them all.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, maybe give one or take and grandma die before she can get to her or whatever, but I definitely think she killed those motherfuckers, which would mean, yes, I think successful killer. You look at those eyes. She murdered them.
Oh, yeah. No
So, if anybody wants to go to a haunted hotel, the Morse Mill Hotel, maybe we need to do a Brothers Dim
on location.
You know, on location, a little spooky ghost stories.
I am down for that.
So that is the end of my presentation, folks. And now Jim, he's got a couple things that he'd like to share for us too. And then the next time you see us around, Jim is going to be the one giving his own little presentation, and I'll be the one picking up the bits. All right, I think we're good to hop back into this whenever you're ready, Jim.
All right. Yeah, the main thing that I was wanting to address about unusual, unexplained Missouri is the all the large bones that have been found over the years. You know, there's no shortage of Bigfoot and UFO, but this one seems pretty localized to this area. I know when they were digging out Lake of the Ozarks, which is the largest man-made lake, I believe, in Missouri. or well, in the United States, I mean, it's in Missouri. They discovered some bones during that time as well. If I recall, it was a number of bones, but they were a mixture of regular size and then a couple of what they call giants, up to 12 feet tall. I believe they had three of them they found, which, based on my cursory search online, I couldn't find what happened to those bones. But there is one that happened not far at all from here where we're at, Stillville, Missouri. This was back in the turn of the century. I believe actually it was probably in the 1920s, I believe it said. There was a boy playing in, 1933 actually, in Stillville.
Nice.
A boy was playing in a cave and he located some bones. They ended up finding a couple of average size, normal size human bones. They also found one that measured a total of 8 feet 4 inches.
8 feet.
Which is
That's pretty crazy,
pretty
dude.
good
That's a big
size.
person.
It is. Now, of course, today there are some people that are that size. There's a few, not many, obviously.
Yeah, right.
But something else to consider is people were a lot smaller back then. So, I mean,
Right, so he would be super tall compared to them.
Probably about 12 feet tall in comparison to what they are now, or what we are now as humans.
Yeah, and then, well, I mean, just in Missouri alone, there's been a lot of talk of giants' bones being found, and then, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of talk of giants' bones being found in America, just in North America in general. And we showed up, and the Native Americans were talking about the tribe builder, the mound builders, and they were like, yeah, we didn't build these fucking things. These big red-headed giants did. And we were like, oh, okay, so you built it, you fucking weirdos, you know? And
Right.
Like, what? You know? So I think there's some pretty good credit to that. I think it's definitely being hidden by some hands that definitely are the Smithsonian, but please don't sue me. And I think, you know, why do you think it is that they're hiding these bones? Do you think it's they don't want to change the textbooks? Do you think... I can't really know. I don't really know. What do you think?
I don't either. I think it's a pretty well-known fact, at least for those that are interested in these kind of topics, that once things go to the Smithsonian, they're never seen or heard from again. That actually happened in this case. This 8'4" skeleton they found there in Steelville was sent to the Smithsonian ultimately, and they deny ever receiving it. It's well notated, even in their newspapers, that is where they went. That they were sent there, and like I said, they deny it. So
never to be seen again.
Exactly, and I think that's the ultimate question: is why? I don't really understand that. They've got to be some kind of a control aspect to it that they don't want to acknowledge these things. But ultimately I don't know what the reasoning behind it is.
I mean, it seems to be a lot of there's a few organizations around the world where things just end up disappearing, you know what I'm saying? Things things go in the Vatican basement and never heard of again. Things go to the Smithsonian, never heard of again, or the government will grab things and I never grabbed that. And that seems to be a pretty easy thing to say when you're a government organization or a government-backed organization. Seems to be pretty easy to make things disappear. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So other than that, Jim, do you have anything else for us today?
Really, I don't. That's the main topic I was going to point out.
Get back here, close this because that is going to be tripping everyone out. We can kind of bring this open here. And I think we can go ahead and say our goodbyes today. I had a lot of fun.
That sounds great.
Hopefully, we'll be able to hear ourselves. You know what I'm saying? That'd be great, because if we can hear us, you guys can hear us. So hopefully, you will want to hear us again. And if you do, come back. And we will be back maybe next week, maybe the week after. We're still figuring it out. You know, don't shoot us. We're doing this, all right? We're going to be doing this. We just still got to figure out the timing. And next time we come
right.
back, Jim is going to be the one giving his presentation. This guy gets weird. You know
That's
what I'm
right.
saying? So find us here. We will be on YouTube at the Brothers Dim Podcast and Facebook at the Brothers Dim Podcast and everything else at the Brothers Dim Podcast. Tell your friends and grandma. Jim, do you have anything to add?
Well, thanks for listening. Definitely, like Justin said, hopefully be back next week or the week after, and look forward to doing this again. I'll do my homework this next time,
Yeah,
and
right.
I'll be ready to give my presentation.
Right on. We'll catch you guys next time. So.